All right, there he is, and here we are. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey there, everyone. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. My name is JT, and I am the Star Trek The Cruise host, and I get to sit down virtually with none other than Trip, Mr. Connor Trinneer. Thank you so much for joining us for this awesome Q&A. How are you doing, my man?
I'm well. I want to start by apologizing for last week. I had the graduation that I had to attend, and that was my bad. So I just want to put it out there that I apologize again to everyone who had planned their evening, and then I ruined it.
No, you're here. That's all that matters. We love you. We forgive you. And you put on the Bahama shirt for us tonight.
That's right. The Panama hat.
Looking sharp as ever. And I don't know, all of you out there, I have a drink. I don't know if you do. Connor, do you have something next to you?
I have water.
There you go. All right. Well, water's okay. I know you're maybe not supposed to cheers, but cheers to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And this is going to be a great Q&A. Take a sip for you. We've got, we did this before with Nana. This is going to work very similar for those of you that tuned into that. For those of you that didn't, very simple. I have lots of questions that you have sent in, and thank you so much. We've got our live comments. We see all of your live comments. You can chime in, say hello, how are you? And what we're going to do is I am going to go down the comments, and in no particular order, I'm just going to see if I can get through as many as we can in about an hour. And if you want to, we're also going to take some live ones too. So you can throw those onto the live feed. And if we do not get to your question, I sincerely apologize. Of course, lots of you have some questions and maybe just some comments in general for Connor, but we will see what we can do. First of all, Connor, in these crazy times, we've all been cooped up. How are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm moving. So that's given me something to do. Yeah, these are crazy times. I go from being incredibly self-motivated to absolutely flat on the couch. On that, it's all things in between. I think that our industry is just literally a couple of days ago decided to reopen. I'm not sure what that entirely means just yet. But in the meantime, I have done at least 2 virtual conventions. I have, when they open back up, I've been golfing.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Other than that, just getting my kid through the last weeks of school. As parents here all will know that the last 2 weeks are like, come on, man, get up. You have to go. So.
Well, this is great. This is so great to see you. I've so enjoyed working with you in the past. I've done some game shows with you. You've been a pleasure to work with. And what have you, so just for those especially that don't know, or didn't get to see you as much as they wanted to on maybe the previous Star Trek cruises, what have you really loved about it? What's the thing that keeps you coming back to the cruises?
One, I really like the amount of time that we are together. You get that, you see one another at the restaurants, you see one another walking the deck, you see one another, and you're not just going from thing to thing to thing that you're obligated to do. So people begin to kind of like settle into it. And I really like that. And to be able to just, you've got the freedom to hang out if you want, or to not if you don't feel like it. I like that the most, I think. And everybody is in, when you go to places like the Las Vegas convention or any other convention, really, there's a bit of a rush for people to go do this or that or the other thing.
No doubt.
And that doesn't exist. There's a lot of time for everybody to just sort of dig in, and because you ain't going to go anywhere. You're on the boat.
You ain't getting anywhere. Absolutely.
Right. And I also just love being on the water. I didn't realize that I would. But I really just like being on the boat. And it's just, it's a pretty unique experience that, how often do you get to do it?
It's been my whole life. It's been since 2006, 8-9 months out of the year. until now. It's all come to a
So
screech.
the shine kind of rubbed off a little bit at some point.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, I also think it's completely different than any experience you're ever going to have regarding a Star Trek convention of any sort. And, and people are in a fantastic mood. They're truly on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's why we call it the unconventional.
See?
Boy, yeah, absolutely. No, it's absolutely wonderful. So I know you have a glass of water next to you, but one of the questions we received previously was, what is your go-to cocktail? What is Connor's go-to cocktail?
I'm a Scotch and wine guy.
Okay. Scotch and wine. God, you're very similar to me. Depends on what I'm doing. If it's a cigar, it's Scotch, obviously. But yeah, just like
if I had to say a cocktail,
right?
I like Sazerac.
All right. Very good. Very good.
And an old fashioned, those sorts of whiskey bourbon drinks.
Very good. All right. So you ready to? So I'm gonna go through some more of these from your fans. Ready for this one?
Yep.
This one is from CB Nick. Has there ever been a time when you looked at a script and said to yourself, they want me to do what? And if so, what was it?
Get pregnant.
I think we're going to see some good comments here in a minute. Yeah.
And that was like,
we're gonna circle back to that as well, that very topic in a little bit.
And that was really early on in the show.
There they go.
Really early on the show, and I was like, "You're gonna what? All right, sure." And that's the thing that I often get asked. I might get asked here tonight. Was there anything that you would like to have done more with your character? And the reality is that they put me in so many really unique, sometimes messed up situations that by the end of the year, I was just like, listen, you got me, man. I can't think of a single thing that I would like you to do with me. So yeah, getting pregnant was easy. That's the easy answer on that one.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. Let's see. From Eric. Eric, thank you for your question. If you could be the chief engineer for any other Star Trek ship, which would it be?
That's not a fair question.
Eric actually has a second part to his, but
okay,
a little different. I'll let you answer that first.
I think I would want to remain on the NX-01 because we were the first one out, and we were encountering all sorts of issues and problems, and the technology that is built later, we didn't have any of. We didn't have the transporter that took you from one place to a next like that. We didn't have the holodeck, which you could, go do some R&R and then, any period of history you wanted. We were still kind of like, going out into the Wild West with, covered wagons as spaceships.
Sure. Now, and I want you to vouch for this too. I spoke to you a week ago, and I said, do you want to vet these questions? And you said, no, just fire away. So I'm just going to throw this one at you. This is also from Eric. Eric, my man, what a great question. Connor, when you flush the toilet, where does it go? And this is a reference to an episode. You know where I'm going with this?
I do.
Okay.
And then I say, pause it, will you? A poop question, sir?
I love this. This is great. And he adds, a funny reference to an episode of Enterprise when he got the poop question.
That's right.
And kind of Eric was curious if you remembered the line.
Oh yeah. It's one of my favorite. In fact, the only thing. So when you do an actor's reel, you want to do stuff that is really, recent, and you also want to touch in on things that you're known for, but you don't want to have everything be 15 years old. That is my scene on my actor reel, which is a poop question, sir. The one thing I have from Enterprise on there, it's that.
All right, let's do a live one. I just read this one from Go Green 1977. Thank you for your question. Do you have any musical talents?
Well, I played
Have you been in musicals, or do you want to be?
Oh, no. I do enjoy the karaoke 2 or 3 drinks in, but good Lord, I don't consider myself a drinker. I'm sorry, I'm a musician. I consider myself a drinker. I played sax for several years, and then I played a little bit of drums, and I dabble. I've got far too many guitars compared to my skill level, but I do enjoy playing guitar.
And you're a drummer too, really? Me too.
Kind of. I mean, it was the what was it? I was in 9th grade the last time I played for.
You know what? That counts.
It does count.
Because you know what? It was 9th grade for me too, basically. So
I mean,
we're gonna give it to you.
great.
All right. Let's see. This one's from Mark. This is kind of a long one, so bear with me here. And I didn't want to edit this. I didn't really cut it down. This is from Mark. Several years ago, you were gracious enough to attend an engineering colloquium at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. Do you recall?
Yeah.
I'm a NASA employee and thoroughly enjoyed attending your talk, especially how you noted that it was ironic how a pretend engineer was speaking to a room full of real-life NASA engineers. With the launch of the SpaceX NASA Demo 2 mission with the U.S. astronauts aboard the NASA progressing on our space launch system missions to the moon and Mars, our future in space is becoming less science fiction and more science fact. And I'd like to get your opinion of what you think 2151 would really look like. Whew, I know.
I want to say this. That experience I had at the Goddard Space Center was one of the thrills of my life. They took me into I think they call it the dry room, where you have to be all, high-powered air sprayed down, the dust-free room, whatever. Mm-hmm. A suit, and then I got toured a mock-up, what they work on the space shuttle. I mean, it was incredible. I was welcomed with open arms, and I was intimidated, and then I had to go talk in front of people whose IQ points skyrocket past by.
I got intimidated just reading his question, thinking the shoes you were in at that moment. I thought, my God Almighty.
What do I think? 2150 or 20?
It's I don't know if it's a 2151. I don't know if that was what he was aiming for, but
I think that in 2151 we will. Who's to know? We've gone from in the late 60s to where we are now. I mean, with a big gaps in between.
Sure.
I think that it will definitely be privatized, which it's already sort of leaning that way now, and people will be able to, I guess, take vacations out into space.
Mm-hmm.
I think that unless we're somehow able to, I don't know, bend physics and fix the speed barrier that we would be under, things like, I don't know, to hell with it. We'll try to colonize Mars.
There you go, Mark.
Yeah.
That's thank you, Mark, for that question. Oh man, that is crazy to think about. All right, let's see, Margaret. This is from Margaret. Thank you for your question, Connor. I hope you are well. I'm a big fan and have watched lots of your work. I have always wondered if you have looked at any of the fan fiction that is posted online, and if so, have you enjoyed it?
No, I haven't. I have been presented with it at conventions. I've looked at some of that, but the ongoing fan fiction, no. I think we're probably in a safe enough group that everybody knows what happened to my character. And I had the great luxury, I think, as the act, I die at the end of the series. And I can just hear through the internet, what? No.
I'll tell you on the comments there.
Yeah. But I had the luxury of telling a whole story. I got the arc of this guy's life, and I really take a lot of pride in that, and sort of hold it closely to me that, in my mind, this was his story, and we got to see it.
Very good.
I know the novel that was written, there's I guess Paramount sanctioned series of novels, and there's in one of those books, my death was a ruse for going into, I believe it's called Section 31, where I'm going undercover, but that's not my story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dead.
Lisa's saying, you did not die. All right, I'm going to stray from Star Trek for a second. This is from Dan. What's the best pizza ever? Now, he did not specify company or type, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Let's go with both.
The best pizza ever is a margarita pizza.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, made the Italian way.
Yeah. So and you saying that, I know damn well you're not going to say Domino's or Pizza Hut. It doesn't exist that way.
No. Their ovens don't get hot enough.
All right, this is Connor. There's no other way to say this except for this next one is a 3-part question about your chest. For those of you listening in, your hearing's working just fine. This next one is a 3-part question about your chest, and this is from Alan. Alan wanted to know.
Okay, Alan.
I wanted to ask you this question the last few times I saw you on the cruise, but never got the chance, and here it goes. Why was your chest shaved for your first shirtless appearance on Enterprise? Why wasn't it after that?
Because if you'll remember, in that first episode, we had to have that decon gel scene, and they didn't want the chest hair to make it look all, whatever. So I had to shave my chest. That was the first time I'd ever done that. And if you've ever done that, and I'm not a hairy guy, but I've got a chest hair smock here. I did not like it. And so and they didn't, after that, they didn't care. So I was like, no. I'm not doing that. That's not fun.
And whose idea, and this is part of the question, whose idea was it to shave it and then leave it?
Shave it and leave it.
I don't know. It's just what
it was production's idea to have it shaved for that first episode, because for that scene specifically.
Gotcha. And then the last part of this, it's no question, I guess. By the way, my wife, not my wife, Alan's wife, who has the exact same birthday as you, prefers it natural, no shaving. And Alan says, you know what? So do I, for that matter, just so you know. Not sure where he was headed with that, but
I feel like I know them a lot more than I did before.
For those of you just tuning in, thanks for joining us. We are talking with Connor Trinneer strictly about his chest tonight. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to keep going with this. Again, for those of you that are tuning in, thank you so much again for spending your night with us. And if you have any questions, I'm going to try to, divert to the live comment feed too, in addition to the pre-submitted questions that I have. And thank you for all of you. And again, I've said this before, if I do not get to your question, we apologize because there's so many and they're all great. But here we go. This one's from Mark, Mark. Here we go. Who are Connor's favorite actor and actress? Now, I thought that in this day and age, the word actor encompassed both genders, but I don't know if he wants to hear your female and male version, but nonetheless, there's your question.
I think that Daniel Day-Lewis is the best one that we have alive who's a male. My favorite actor of all time is a guy named Frederick March.
Okay.
And my favorite actress is Meryl Streep, hands down.
All right. Very good. Very good. Let's see. I'm going to see. Let's pull a live one here. Oh, what has been your favorite cruise port? From Michelle Miller.
I prefer the ports of call that, no offense to the cruise companies, that aren't owned by them.
No doubt. That's fine.
They're a little kind of hermetically sealed in a way. Still fun. The one that I preferred was the time that I got to go to Monkey Town. That was the first one, I believe.
Monkey Town.
Well, yeah, there was this monkey preserve that was one of the things that you could do, and I went up with a bunch of people, and they were a lovely bunch of folks, and I really enjoyed that one.
Very cool.
This will be a different ship going to different places, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they always switch it up from year to year, but yeah, the tours, and for those of you that have, you go on the cruise, it's great, but you got to do the tours. And Connor, I think you'll agree with this, because not only do you get to spend time with your favorites, but some of these things are awesome. Some of these tours
are amazing.
Yeah,
really cool. And you get to spend the afternoon together, which is cool. And the way it worked with me on the I know it's not called Monkey Town, but that's what
it is now.
Monkey Town was that. While I was still able to enjoy the whole thing, I was going every 10 minutes, I'd go to a different sort of pod of people and hang out with them, and we'd take pictures, and, so you get the sort of the full experience. Everybody gets a shot and of just hanging out and doing all that. So I really enjoy that.
Cool. This one, I got another live one here for you, Connor. This one, I gotta call this one out, because she is from Australia, from Sydney, Australia. Thank you so much for tuning in. My goodness. This is Claudia, wants to know, when are you coming to Australia? She is a newcomer to Star Trek Enterprise, so have missed previous Comic-Con here, but she wants to know, do you have any plans of going to Australia?
I go to Australia anytime they ask me to. And that's usually, it seems to be every 3 or 4 years. I was just in New Zealand last year, which I know is not the same thing. But I would expect in the next year or so, I'll be going back to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I love Australia.
Oh, and Sydney. What a city. Holy shit. My goodness.
Cities.
All right. From Amy. Thank you for your question. Amy, Connor, if you were a member of the Enterprise in real life, would your position still be engineering, or would you pick something else?
You people are asking really good questions.
I knew they would.
I only hesitate because one of the reasons I'm an actor is because math and science was not my forte in school. Mm-hmm. However, Trip's character didn't seem to be a particularly good student either. He was just a wonderkind at engineering. I think we should keep Trip as an engineer. That or make him the chef.
Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's see. Thank you, Amy. This next one is from the Kane family. All right. An entire family here with this question. First of all, thanks for chatting with us. Was wondering, Connor, if you have any ideas on how to get Enterprise out there more on people's watch list, I guess. I know the cruise is a good start. It's just that Enterprise is our top Star Trek show, along with Deep Space Nine, they mentioned. We think pretty much everything about the show is top notch. The acting, writing, stories, set design, it's really amazing. And it's very impressive on how well thought out it was. How do we get that one in particular out there more? So obviously, massive fan of Enterprise.
Yeah, thank you. Our show suffered while it was on because of the network that we were on, and we would get preempted for whatever local sports team was having an event. So if there was a basketball game in Indianapolis, or if there was a Cardinals game in St. Louis, a lot of times they were on those networks on UPN. And so if we were meant to be on Thursday nights, they'd bump it to Sunday, and you wouldn't know that. And so I think a lot of people initially were a little put off by the fact that it was just hard to find, and it also was not in several markets. In fact, I mentioned St. Louis. I believe it wasn't even on in St. Louis, and Scott Bakula is actually from St. Louis. So there's that. And then once Enterprise showed up on Netflix, I think that gave it its second wind, and that introduced and reintroduced people to the show, and you were able to binge watch it or watch it at your leisure. And um, I think that our show in particular, as a result of its history, will do best in terms of getting it out by word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, on my Twitter feed, people are always, I'm getting, daily tons of notices about how they feel about Enterprise and how they came to it late and what have you. But, so they're out there and they're growing. And,
Yeah.
I think that partially because we were the first show that made the technology of like Blu-ray work. The other series, they look a little, dated. Ours doesn't. So we've got that going for us. And I think that time will continue to be kinder and kinder to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, speaking of Scott Bakula, the Kane family said, and oh, please, JT, please get Scott as captain on one of the cruises. Just I don't know if I have that power, but I can tell you, to the Kane family, the powers that be are watching. So who knows? Fingers crossed.
I think he'd love it.
Yeah. This next one from, and if I'm mispronouncing your name, I sincerely apologize. Andy Milliken. Good question for Connor. Who would you like to see on the cruise? What Star Trek actor would you like to see on the cruise, maybe that has not been on board?
Scott Bakula.
There you go. I guess.
Let me think for a second.
Yeah, you got more than one, by all means.
I think Patrick Stewart. He's such a fascinating human being, and there's an aura around him, and but he's a very sweet man. I think it'd be fantastic to have him on it.
Very cool. Yeah, I
think a lot of them.
Comments are going to light up on that one too. I'm sure that's a popular request. All right. From Monique. Let's see. Monique, as in episode Carbon Creek, tell me a story. Can you tell us a story? Can you tell us a funny, interesting, maybe strange, cute Enterprise filming story that you never tell? Anything come to mind?
That I never tell. I've told a lot of these.
Or maybe if you've told it, but it's too damn good, fire away too.
Well, I'll tell you a couple. One's short. So when we were doing an episode, Scott and I were doing an episode called Desert Crossing, and we had to traverse across the little area of dunes that there are here in California. And somebody was coming, so we had to bury ourselves. We had to get buried alive. Mm-hmm. So for some reason, one of us had to be face up and one of us had to be face down. And I was like, I don't know why. I said, I'll go face down. So they gave us these long straws and they buried us. Well, when they said cut, they pulled the straw out, action, and then we're left. There's
right.
So they yell cut, and I get up and I shake off, and I was like, that wasn't so bad. I look over at Scott, and he's bent over, and I can't believe how much sand is pouring out of his nose. and he looks over and he's like, yeah, you're face down, huh? And I was like, yeah, I feel great. And then the other one was also with Scott. There was an episode, I forget the name of it, where some globby alien force has invaded our ship. And at the end, Scott and I are in perilous danger. We're being suspended in the air, and we somehow get out of it, of course. But what they did is they suspended us in the air. And this goop that this stuff emitted, their design for it was they got the mixture that thickens milkshakes from McDonald's.
Okay.
And I think that they probably wiped the entire San Fernando Valley out of KY jelly. That was the combination of materials. And so we're just covered. And we've been up there so long that our legs have fallen completely asleep. And this stuff, when you got it on, for some reason, it was cold.
Yeah.
So we got down, cut. The day's over. It's 1, 2 in the morning. Now, when you finish a scene and you move on from a scene, a new setup, the assistant camera operator pops off the lens to check it, to make sure that there's nothing there. And there never is anything there.
Yeah.
I was checking for a hair, and he's like, his name's Gary, and he said, oh guys, I'm sorry. There's a hair in the lens. Well, they had to cut us out of these uniforms because you couldn't unzip them because of all the goop and stuff. And it's in our ears. It's all in our hair.
Oh.
So you have to, it's like Luke Skywalker, cutting open that thing and having to get in there and hide in Star Wars, or what is Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
They had to slip us back into these just disgusting uniforms, sew them back up, re-douse us with all this stuff, cinch us back up there, do it all over again. I earned my pay that day.
Oh, absolutely. You said previously you were suspended.
Yeah, they had to send us back up.
Just out of curiosity, how high?
Oh, we were like 30 feet high.
Okay, because that leads me to my next question. Do you have any fear of heights, or are you good with that?
None at all.
Okay,
I roofed in college.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, I can stand over the edge of anything and be like, yeah.
Oh, I am the opposite. I can't do that. Yeah. I love these questions.
I'm only scared of spiders.
What's that?
I'm only scared of spiders.
All right, you've given some good info out.
Yeah.
Ammunition against you now. No.
I know.
So I love these questions from abroad. This is great. From the UK. We've got one from Marie Smith. Hi, Connor, from the UK. Who is your favorite guest star on Enterprise?
Well, it would have to be one that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
There is an actor named Greg Henry, and he came in and we did an episode. The episode was to be, and it was very similar to the storyline of, well, Hell in the Pacific, which then became Enemy Mine, so they've redone it a few times. He was speaking in a alien language that at first I thought he was just making it up, just gobbledygook. But he learned the whole thing. He learned, I don't know how he did it in the amount of time that he had.
Mm-hmm.
He never spoke English to me until like the very last scene where he learned a couple of words.
Yeah.
And I was just so impressed by the difficult job that he had to do, and he does it so well in that episode. And I enjoyed the time that I spent with Padma Lakshmi from Top Chef. She does Top Chef now, but she had, I don't know if she still acts, but she had been an actor at that time, and she came on and we had a lot of fun together.
Yeah. All right. These questions are great, everybody. This is one of the ones that was pre-submitted. And actually, this one, Carly, thank you for your questions, plural. She sent in quite a bit. I did have to narrow it down a little bit in fairness to everyone else here, but I'm going to ask a few of them, 2 or 3 of them. This is from Carly. First of all, what was your favorite episode to shoot and why?
I'm going to say they're my favorite episodes, right? Is that what she's basically saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one. I have a few because I have a lot of episodes that I think really good storylines in. And this is in no particular order either. Mm-hmm. Shuttlepod 1 with Dominic. Similitude, where they cloned me. Cogenitor, which I thought was a really interesting moral struggle. And I that came out of a conversation that I'd had with them, the producers on the show. I had said, look, it seems as though Trip gets his foot stuck in his mouth and he doesn't have to pay any consequences yet. And I think it'd be interesting to see him have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they came up with this, and it's a fascinating episode. Unexpected when I was pregnant. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the Terra Nova episodes at the end of our series were quite good. And that's when Trip and Paul have babies that don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say those.
All right. Speaking of Shuttlepod 1, I actually have a question from another gentleman about that one in particular, so I'll go back to this one. This is from Jason about that particular episode. The episode Shuttlepod 1 was a turning point in Trip and Malcolm's relationship. What I'd like to know is if you were told far in advance that the relationship between the two of you would change.
So the way this works usually is they cast you in a role, and especially if you're if you're in a group, they begin to try things out, and they begin to hear your voice when they write. And I don't think that they had intended this show. This Shuttlepod 1 was meant to be just a money saver, because it was basically just he and I, and they're called bottle shows, and it's to catch up with your budget. Mm-hmm. And so I don't believe that they had any idea that, because in this relationship we're quite an odd couple, but we're very good friends, and in real life he and I are the same way. We're quite an odd couple, but we're very good friends. He's a dear friend of mine. I think that episode cemented a developing relationship between Trip and Malcolm that had a lot of, legs. It had legs to go with.
Mm-hmm.
To run.
Cool. And yeah, that was from Jason. Thank you very much, Jason. And then I will go back to, I said I'd ask one or two more from Carly. This one kind of strays from Star Trek. Do you have any advice for incoming college freshmen, like what to do and what to bring? Carly, you might have stumped him. I don't know.
What to do?
It's a loaded question, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I can only speak from my own experience as a freshman in college, which I didn't do. And that is make sure, with all of the new things that you're experiencing, that you do your homework. That's important, because you want to see a sophomore year, and you want your parents to still pay money for you to go to this place and not just get straight C's.
Mm-hmm.
What to bring? Top ramen.
Oh, that's always been key. With everyone I've ever talked to.
Top ramen, because you're going to need it. Because sometimes the food ain't so hot.
All right. And then the last one from Carly. And then we'll move from Carly. What's your favorite Trek quote, whether it be from Enterprise or literally any other series? Do you have a favorite quote, Connor?
Look, I mean, you really can't beat "Live Long and Prosper."
Mm.
I mean, everything follows after that. So that's, it's much better than a poop question, sir. So I think that I'll go with "Live Long and Prosper."
Yeah. All right. There you have it. Thank you, Carly, for those questions. I'm going to go to a live one now. This one, I believe she's been patient. Heather Cameron, she said, I don't know if you saw my earlier question. Trip's funeral was never shown on the show. So does that mean there is a loophole for him to be somehow alive and able to return if they do more shows around that era?
Trip died. But they already cloned him one time. I mean, this is sci-fi. Nobody truly ever dies in science fiction. You can bring him back. I think Trip's probably alive in some petri dish somewhere that Dr. Phlox is hidden away. So no, I think that it would be. I don't know. They maybe they would take the baton from that story where his death was a ruse and he was gone on to do some I don't know, some dark secret work for the Federation. But the reality is that, especially in television, I mean, gosh, on Dallas, Bobby died and he just woke up and he was taking a shower and it was all a dream. I mean, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Trip will be there. Let's put it that way.
And then she has a B part of this. Are you going to come to Vulcan, Alberta again once they hold another Volcon?
Sure. Yeah, that was fun.
Right.
Vulcan is it's an interesting town. It's just outside of Calgary, about a couple of hours, and very small.
Yeah.
But they have dedicated this town to Star Trek, and they bring in an actor or two a year. They have a Star Trek museum. They have a parade for you down like the 4 blocks that this little tiny town is. It's actually a hoot.
Yeah, cool. I've never been up that way. All right, this let's see another one. North Star, season 3, episode 9. When Trip said, "I've seen every John Ford Western, and as a classic movie fan, I love that he organized movie night on NX01. In real life, are you a classic Western movie fan?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen. I've seen most of John Ford's westerns. In all honesty, I am a classic movie fan and a Western fan. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's see. God, we got so many good ones here. You said, well, I can ask this one because you just said it. If you weren't an engineer earlier, you referred to cooking. First of all, you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, Connor? Or?
I do love to cook. Yeah, it's something I discovered over the last couple of years. So it's last several years. Prior to that, no, I didn't do anything. I avoided it, but I began to become interested in it, and I learned. I guess I burst through that wall of that. If you read the recipe all the way through, good things happen.
Yes, if you can stick to it. So, do you have a go-to dish?
Oh gosh, a go-to dish. I love making coq au vin. I've got a steak right now, getting to room temperature, that I'm going to grill with some asparagus. I'll do. That's the thing, is like I'll go-to dishes. If there's a real like chicken fried rice, because my son loves it, but that's just one of those things of like, let's make a big giant bunch of chicken fried rice and eat that for 4 or 5 days. But I like to get out there and try some interesting things. I did a Cornish game hen a couple of weeks ago. I made beef Wellington 2 weeks ago.
No kidding. That's not an easy.
No.
Whew, wow.
And it totally worked out.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Man.
So I'm trying stuff.
Yeah. Did you work that on your first go at it, or?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I would have done was it was a little salty because it calls for unsalted butter, which I never use. I would not have salted the minced mushrooms.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it was actually, it was time consuming, but it wasn't that difficult.
No, but I'm sure super worth it in the end too.
Oh God.
And then, so Jason chiming in again, suggestion, marinate pork shoulder in root beer. All right, Jason.
I've heard that.
All right. Love root beer.
Oh, pork shoulder.
All right. Here's another one. This is another question. This is from Keith. Thank you, Keith, for your question. What was it like working with a co-star whose character, for about 100 episodes, never cracked a smile? Did you ever try to get her to smile? And how many retakes did you have to do if you were successful?
Jolene was the biggest goofball on our set, hands down. You would have never known it. She had perfect stone face, and she didn't crack very often. But she was a total pro. But you could do it. You could do it. And usually it was because I screwed my lines up, which I did all the time. Because if any of you all watching have the series DVDs, you'll see that in the blooper reel, I'm all through it.
Mm-hmm. Very good. All right, let's go to Pat. This is from Pat. Thank you, Pat. Connor, how aware are you of the continuation novels for Enterprise? And then a follow-up, they would love to hear you read an audiobook version of any of them.
I am aware of the one that I mentioned about Trip not dying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'm aware of. I would happily do the audiobook. I've done a few audiobooks. I enjoy them. I enjoy doing audiobooks. Oddly, one of my audiobooks came out just after Lance Armstrong had won his last Tour de France. So it is a love letter to Lance Armstrong. I'm sure listening to that now, you're like, lie, 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 lie. But no, I enjoy them.
Very good. I'm going to go to a live comment, not a question. The Hawaiian shirt you're wearing is awesome. Thank you, Sandra. That's just so you know, Connor, from Sandra.
Thank you.
Here's another one. Go Green, 1977. I'm talking to Dominic tomorrow for 2 minutes. Anything I should ask him or say to him?
Yeah, tell him to call me because I texted him just about 20 minutes before this.
All right, let's see. And keep these live ones coming. We still have a little bit of time here left to go. I just also want to say again, thank you to all of you for tuning in and spending your night with the one and only Mr. Connor Trinneer and myself. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see. Keep these questions coming. There was one earlier I saw. Is there anything in particular that you're doing to keep yourself busy these days in these bizarre, cooped up times? Anything in particular that you've started to, you thought, well, if there's a time to poke my nose into this, see what this is all about.
Yeah, Netflix.
Oh, really? Just now?
I've never really watched Netflix before, and that's not a lot of activity, but I definitely did some serious. I'd never binged anything before, and I now know what that's like. I've had more time to play around on my guitar. I'm moving, which, as we all know, that takes time. All honesty, I've tried out new recipes. I've tried to, for a long time, as we all know, that you couldn't go for a hike, you couldn't do anything, and you had to find, new and unique ways to, keep your blood pumping. So, I was doing that here.
So what are you binging?
Let's see. Well, I kind of binged them all. What's the one called that I need to watch? A friend of mine just sent it. Ozark, which I thought was.
I'm a huge fan. Yeah, check it out.
And I hope it's over because that would have been the perfect way to end that series.
Yeah.
And then Goliath. I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons of that. The third season was just a little bit wacky. I've been watching some I've been watching some timely documentaries about race in America and that. And what else is out there? Anything that I should have watched that I haven't?
Well, see, I'm going back and watching things that I never got to watch because I've worked on cruise ships for 13 years. So I'm watching things like 24 that were popular, a decade ago that
right
now I'm getting into it. But, I've done the whole Tiger King and the things that everyone's supposed to be watching now. So, but I don't know if I have any recommendations off the top of my head for you, but those are some good ones. Ozark is great.
I think one of the great things about Netflix is that what you see on that front page, there's so much more in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just do a little searching. I mean, there's amazing things that you didn't know they had.
Yeah, you end up searching the same amount of time you watch a movie. I mean, I'm searching things for an hour on that damn thing.
Totally.
Yeah. This one, I can't believe I haven't gotten this question previously, and it's such a phenomenal question. This is from Kayla Bonner. Do you have a funny / embarrassing fan encounter? And we won't limit this to just the cruise ship. This could be anywhere. Your most funny / embarrassing fan encounter. Do you have one that pops to mind? Or more than one? Who knows?
Well, the big one.
We want to hear the big one.
Okay. So on the show, I was often running around in my blue underwear. It's just what they did to me. And this Australian guy named Arthur, who's he's often in drag. He's an amazing human being.
Mm-hmm.
He had wound up in Vegas at the convention, and because you can walk up, and that usually has hundreds and hundreds of people there for the Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
And he stands up and he says, "Hey, Connor, I don't know if you remember me." And I was like, I do, Arthur. How are you? And he goes, I'm good. Did you ever wonder what happened to those blue skivvies that you wore on the show? And I go, No, I didn't, actually. And Dominic, who's next to me, is like, "Oh, I sure did. What happened to them?" And Arthur says, "I'm wearing them." And he drops his pants. And I blanched. I didn't know what to do. And of course, Dominic being Dominic, he walked down there and signed Arthur's butt. And but that was easily the most shocking one for me. It was a personal thing. So in our first season, you get told you don't have to do conventions. You can if you want. The fans would like to see you, and I was terrified. I thought, man, I don't know that I want to do this. So I decided that I was going to go to the one that was closest to my hometown. I grew up about 45 minutes north of Portland, Oregon.
Uh-huh.
And so I went there because my family would be there. So I have people that I could look at and know that loved me. And I just remember coming in and being shuttled on stage, and these two massive guys dressed up as Klingon started talking to me in Klingon. I didn't even know it was a full language at that point. I mean, they've translated the Bible, Shakespeare, all sorts of things. And so, yeah, I have them all the time. It's funny, you forget more than you remember. And
I don't know if you can see these comments. They're just gold to the right of you here. Lisa Herrera says, "Blue underwear, yay." And Richard Lindsay says, "My underwear is mostly brown and yellow." I'm going to leave that one right there.
Yeah. The Roof Trading Company, my friend.
Anyway, we've got a few more minutes. Keep these coming. The live ones are great. And I just want, again, thank you so much, Connor Trinneer, for joining us tonight for this. While we're stuck at home or trying to stay safe and healthy, it's great to be able to do these events, to kind of bring the Star Trek experience to you and your home, everybody out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your questions, both live and previously submitted. It's just wonderful. So
many of these I've never been asked before.
That's good. All right.
Which is rare air.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, Richard Lindsay, he's on me now. Really? That's the one you read? Yeah. We're about your underwear, Richard. We've got, this is all we're doing tonight is just the family's getting together and chatting. So this is great. Any other questions? Please keep them coming. Like I said, we got a few more moments here, and let me see if I can find another one.
Now, I got a question. Are most of the people that I'm talking to here on the cruise, signed up for the cruise? It wasn't that exclusive. Anybody could Facebook this or join.
That's a good question. I think there are a few that have never been on the Star Trek or Star Trek the Cruise, because I think I did see a question. We might have answered it briefly in the very beginning, that someone wanted to know, what is that like? What, I know you did answer it in regards to, it's very different than the convention, but
Let me say that.
There are some that were not on the voyage.
For those of you who are not signed up for the cruise, and for those of you who have ever had an interest in doing this cruise, it is going to be the best Star Trek experience you will ever have. And that is just honest words from me coming to you. The experience itself is something that you will never, ever forget. And so if you're not on it and you're thinking about doing the cruise, don't wait.
Don't wait.
Don't
Yeah,
wait.
it is, and I know I'm biased because I have the pleasure of being the cruise director. It's what I've done with my life. But I just saw a question, or a statement rather, from Kayla, who did ask a question previously and said, I can't handle a boat, much less a ship. And I'm here to tell you, it's really, a boat gets kicked around like you wouldn't believe, but a ship, it's more stable. Yes, they have their rocky days, but it's, I would still encourage everyone out there to do it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, don't let that get in your way.
Yeah.
It is a large. But it's like a city.
Yeah.
And it's all so well done by you all. You do such a fantastic job, JT, on the thing. And
it's not me. I get to work with the best team on the high seas out there.
Well, your team, all of you, do such a great job and make everybody feel so comfortable and welcome. And I wasn't on it last year, and I was like, why not?
Well, coming back for Star Trek The Cruise 5, we can't wait to see it. We're going to have a great time. And actually, I'm seeing the comments light up right now. It's just, there's no more question. It's just, yes, cruise. It's the best thing ever. Star Trek The Cruise 5. We can't wait. And we can't wait to see you all. And Connor, you as well. It's just unbelievable. I've said this before. I've said this on board. We are truly a family. It is very different than the convention. We're all together. We're not going anywhere. We bump into each other. We have the best time. And I think you would agree, Connor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
You can dress up at night if you want. Go have a nice meal. You can dress up in costumes. You can do whatever the heck you want.
Yeah. Star Trek The Cruise fans, they are the best crowd I've ever had the pleasure of being in front of. It's wonderful. Well, I think that's a great place to end it right there. Connor Trinneer, I cannot thank you enough for taking time to spend this Q&A with us. It's just been wonderful. I hope you had a good time. Great questions, huh?
That was fantastic. And thank you, JT. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, all of you. And on the cruise, if you're going on it and you ask some questions, please walk up and let me know. Let me put a face to the name.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you all so much. Please stay healthy and safe out there. We'll see you on Star Trek The Cruise 5. Have a great night and a very great weekend. Take care. Connor, again, thank you so much, my man.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.